Hello, Dr. Gould. This is the project that created the FlyRight web application. And our project is basically a web application that allows you to find flights and book hotels and also for transportation purposes to rent vehicles. We created our project using the MVC framework, MVC.4, MVC4 rather. Uh, in C Sharp to implement this project. As you can see, we have the models here and the views and the controllers. The views that we used was Razor views to create the mock-up for our HTML pages. As well, for the backend of FlightRight, we used Microsoft SQL Server 2012 to create the backend of the database. So that's the architecture of how we created FlightRight. Let me bring up the website itself. We have the website hosted in the domain. We uh, we got the domain. We got the domain for ourselves. The mygradproject.com is where you'll find our FlightRight project. As you can see, this is the home page, and this home page you'll be able to find all of the links and directions to be able to find flights and hotels and rent your vehicle. And we try to make the website as clutter-free as possible, so to allow the users to be able to know where to navigate and where to go without making things overly complicated. And as you can see, we also have provided a 24-hour chat assistant. Chat bar here for the customer to be able to go in and communicate with the employee or to know how to navigate the site. Of course, we would have one of our developers on the other end communicating with the customer. If you don't want to communicate with anybody or use the chat line, then you can just minimize it, and it'll always be here at the bottom left corner in case you would need it. So in the home screen, we have our menus to find the flight, book a hotel, rent a vehicle. We also have the shopping cart where you could click the shopping cart and it'll give you a summary of the selections you have made currently. Of course, we haven't made any selections, so it's blank. Let's go to our home screen. This is the home page, so you'll always be able to find the links located above home and about and contact anywhere in the site as you're navigating to be able to go back. The about button tells you a little bit about our FlightRight application, and our contacts tells you about our contacts and how you can reach us. So let's go back to the main menu and let's try to find the flight. So as you hit the find the flight button in the home screen, it'll navigate you to where you can search for flights. Of course, we pre-populated the database to hold some flights here. They're outdated because we populated the database at the beginning of writing this program. But you could search for airline name and city name from where you're flying and to where you're flying, and you can specify the leave date and the return date to search for flights. So for this example, let's look for the airline name. Let's say United. We wanted to search for a United flight. We hit enter and it'll filter out or do a query of the database and look for the flights that have the airline name United. And here we found one flight. So we could also find a city that we want to go to. Let's say we want to go to Houston, and we could also find a Houston flight. And as you can see, it found the Houston flight and it leaves at so and so date. So let's make this selection for the flight we want, and then that directs us to an overview of the flight that we've selected. Now from this page you can see, or you can notice, that the shopping cart got updated and a 1 got placed in there because we have made a selection, flight selection, and you could click it and at any time and see your flight selection and what you have already selected. And as you can see, you could also remove um, the flight. So you could hit remove if you don't want it anymore and start all over again. But let's say we want to keep the flight. So let's go back. We want to keep it, and at this point we could choose to check out, but we could also have other menus here. We wanted to continue to search for hotels or rent vehicles. Let's say we want to match it up with a hotel that we want to stay. So let's look for hotels. This will bring us the search criteria, search form for the hotels. And again, we've pre-populated some of these hotels here for the sake of simplicity. And you could search for flights. You could search for the hotel name or city. Here, you could search for them in the same bar. So you could search for Las Vegas. Let's say we want to find some hotels in Las Vegas. Click search. Okay, at this point, it won't let us search until we specify the dates that we want to stay in. So let's say we want to stay on the 22nd of September to the 20, oh, excuse me, to the 24th. So let's filter those hotels and see what we have here. As we see, we found a couple of hotels located in Las Vegas. The Caesar's Palace, the Bellagio, the Stratosphere, and the Encore. Let's say we want to stay in the MGM Grand. Here it gives you the price per night and the star rating. You could also search for star rating of the hotel. Let's say we want to select this hotel. So again, as we select, they'll give you an overview of your selection. And now we could either check out or search for or continue to search for other things. But as you notice, when we selected our hotel, the icon for the shopping cart incremented because now we have two things in our shopping cart, the flight and the hotel. So let's click on the shopping cart to see exactly what our selections are. And as you can see, it'll give you a brief summary of what we have selected. We've selected to take the United flight from Las Vegas to Houston, and we've selected to stay at the MGM Grand. Of course, this stuff doesn't match up because we're going to Houston, but we're staying at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. But at this point, you could select to remove a hotel or remove a flight. So you could remove the hotel, and as you can see now, your hotel selection is empty. But let's say we want to keep it and continue to check out this time. Now this will bring us to the checkout form where we add our personal information and our credit card information to check out. So let's put in some temporary information here. Let's put in at uh.edu. Let's continue. Some of these forms are required, like your name, but for simplicity purposes, some of the other forms are not required. So let's continue to put our credit card information. The month expiration dates and the CCV code. So as we go down to finalize our order, we see a brief summary of our selection. As you can see here, this is the flight that we've selected and the hotel that we decided to stay in. And it'll give us a grand total of how much it's going to cost. And we're running a University of Houston Victoria special promotions, so you automatically get deducted the amount and the price comes out to $0. But as you can see, here's the subtotal and how much it cost. Now we can finally say complete order when we're finished, and the invoice will be generated. So you see a transaction number will be created, the creation date will be shown, and the information of the customer will be provided, including his name and email. And here is the summary, the invoice summary of his purchases, so he could print and keep that for his records. So that is a brief summary, a quick look at flights and hotels. We also implemented renting the vehicles. So let's go back to the home screen and select the rent vehicle. And this will bring us the form to select a vehicle. And this form is very basic. We've limited to search for to rent vehicles from 4 cities: Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio. Of course, we could have added more, but just for simplicity, we've kept it limited of those 4 cities, and we could specify what date we want to rent the vehicle and what time we would like to pick up the vehicle and what dates and times we would like to return them. Now, the last option of our form is to select what type of vehicle we would like to, excuse me for that, we would like to rent. So let's say we would like to look for exotic vehicles. So let hit continue. It will bring us to a summary of our selection here. Here we pick location Houston, the pickup date, the time date that we'll pick it up, the return date, and the date where we return it and the time we will return it. And the type of vehicles being shown is exotic because that's what we chose. So here's a selection of some of the vehicles that we have to rent, and it gives you a picture and the price of how much it costs per day to rent this type of vehicle. So let's say we want to rent this Porsche here for $390 a day. So let's select this, and it'll bring us to a selection summary where the pickup location was Houston. Um, let's see the address and the price. Of course, I think I might have messed up on the date, and that's probably something we will have to look into fixing before we submit this. But let's make sure that we pick a date that's far beyond um, our date. Some bugs that we will have to fix before we submit this project. But now that I updated the dates, let me click the vehicle again. Now we have summary. Now we have 2 days. We're going to rent the vehicle for 2 days. So 2 days has been calculated down here to be $780 for 2 days. So now we could choose to check out and proceed to fill out the credit card information. And as soon as we're done, we hit continue and the invoice will be printed out. So that is our project. A lot of work went into it. Try to get the most out of basically to implement as much of the implementation that we put in our start uh, when we started to propose our project. And that is all. Thank you.